My name is Margaret Wilson. I am 71 years old. I live in a small town with quiet streets, old trees, and houses that have been there for many years. I have one daughter. Her name is Sarah. She is my only child. I raised her alone. Her father died when she was only 6 years old. After that, it was just Sarah and me. Life was not easy. I worked in a small bakery for many years. Every morning, I woke up before the sun. I baked bread, cleaned the shop, and served customers. My hands were often tired, my feet hurt, but every evening, I came home with a smile because Sarah was waiting for me. I wanted her to have a better life than I had. I saved every little amount of money I could. When Sarah needed school books, I bought them. When she needed new shoes, I bought them. When she wanted to go to college, I used my savings. I never complained. She was my daughter. Her happiness was my happiness. Years passed. Sarah became a beautiful young woman. She finished college and moved to the city for work. At first, she called me every day. "Mom, did you eat? Mom, are you feeling okay? Mom, I miss you." I loved hearing her voice. I would sit beside the window with my phone in my hand and wait for her calls. Then Sarah got married. Her husband was named Mark. He was polite when I first met him. He shook my hand and said, "Mrs. Wilson, don't worry. I will always take care of Sarah." I smiled. I believed him. After the wedding, Sarah moved to another city with Mark. They both had good jobs. They bought a beautiful house. They traveled. They had a comfortable life. I was happy for them. I stayed in my small house. It was not expensive, but it was my home. My husband and I had bought it many years ago. Every room had a memory. The kitchen was where I cooked Sarah's first birthday cake. The living room was where she studied for her exams. The small bedroom upstairs was where she slept as a child. I could never imagine leaving that house. For me, it was not just a building. It was my whole life. For many years, Sarah visited me every few months. She would bring flowers and food. Sometimes she hugged me and said, "Mom, I wish you lived closer." I always answered, "I am happy here, sweetheart." But slowly, things changed. Sarah started visiting less. Then she stopped calling every day. Sometimes a whole week passed without hearing from her. I told myself she was busy. She had work. She had a husband. She had her own life. I did not want to become a burden. One winter morning, Sarah suddenly arrived at my house. She looked worried. "Mom, we need to talk." I invited her inside. I made tea. She sat quietly at the table. "What happened?" I asked. She took a deep breath. "Mom, you are getting old." I smiled. "I know." She didn't smile back. "You live alone. What if something happens to you?" "I have lived here for many years." "But you shouldn't be alone anymore." I looked at her. "What are you saying?" She held my hand. "Come and live with us." My heart became warm. "Really?" "Yes, Mom. You can stay in our house. We have an extra room." For the first time in a long time, I felt important to my daughter again. I smiled. That would be wonderful. But then Sarah said something that changed everything. "You need to sell this house first." I became silent. Sell my house. Yes, Mom. You don't need it anymore. I looked around the room. My eyes stopped at an old photograph of Sarah as a little girl. I don't want to sell it. Sarah sighed. Mom, please understand. The house is old. The roof needs repairs. The bills are expensive. You can't manage everything alone. I can manage. No, you can't. Her voice became harder. Mom, be realistic. I looked down at my hands. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was becoming too old. Maybe I needed my daughter. So I finally said, okay. Sarah hugged me. Thank you, Mom. You won't regret it. The next week, she brought some papers. She told me they were necessary documents for selling the house. I trusted her. I signed them. I didn't read every page. She was my daughter. Why would I doubt her? A few weeks later, the house was sold. I packed my clothes. I packed my husband's photograph. I packed Sarah's childhood pictures. I put everything into 2 small bags. Before leaving, I stood in the middle of the living room. I touched the wall. Goodbye, I whispered. My eyes filled with tears. I thought I was leaving my home, but I believed I was going to my daughter's home. That evening, Sarah picked me up. She smiled. Mom, your new life begins today. I smiled too. I had no idea what was waiting for me. We drove for almost 3 hours. Finally, we stopped in front of a large building. I looked outside. Where are we? Sarah didn't answer immediately. Then she said, Mom, don't be afraid. I looked at her. Why would I be afraid? She got out of the car. I followed her slowly. We walked toward the building. There was a sign above the door. It said, Sinris, 7 hour, Compass. I stopped walking. My heart dropped. Sarah. Mom, please don't make this difficult. I stared at her. You said I was going to your house. You can't live with us. But you promised. I know. Then why did you bring me here? She sighed. Mark doesn't want you in our house. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. Then why did you make me sell my house? Sarah looked uncomfortable. We needed the money. I could not speak. The house was worth a lot, she continued. We had debts. We needed money for our business. I looked at her. You used my house. Mum, you are old. What were you going to do with the money? My hands began to shake. That money was supposed to be for my future. Sarah looked at the building. This place is good. They will take care of you. I whispered, but you are my daughter. She looked at me. I am still your daughter. Numb. My voice broke. A daughter doesn't do this to her mother. Sarah looked angry. Mom, please don't make me feel guilty. Then she took a small envelope from her bag. There is some money inside. It should be enough for your personal things. She put it into my hand. I looked at the envelope. Then I looked at her. Will you come to see me? She didn't answer. Sarah. She finally said, I will try. Then she walked back toward the car. I stood there. Sarah! She stopped. I wanted to run to her, but my legs were weak. I wanted to ask her to take me home, but I had no home anymore. She got into the car. The car started moving. I watched it disappear. I stood outside that building with 2 bags in my hands. I had never felt so alone. A woman named Helen worked at the care home. She came outside and gently touched my shoulder. "Mrs. Wilson." I nodded. "Come inside." I followed her. My room was small. There was a bed, a table, a chair, and a window. I put my husband's photograph on the table. Then I sat on the bed. That night, I cried quietly. I cried for my husband. I cried for my old house. But most of all, I cried for Sarah. I had given her everything, and she had left me when I needed her most. Days passed, then weeks. I slowly became used to the place. Helen was kind. She always checked on me. There was another woman named Rose who lived in the room next to mine. She made me laugh. There was an old man named Thomas who played chess every afternoon. They were strangers. But slowly, they became my friends. Sarah never came. Not once. Sometimes she sent a short message. "Mom, I am busy. I will visit soon." I stopped waiting. One morning, Helen came into my room holding a letter. "Margaret, this came for you." I opened it. It was from a lawyer. I read it slowly. My hands began to shake. The letter said there was a problem with the sale of my house. I didn't understand. I called the lawyer. "Mr. Adams, what does this mean?" he asked. "Mrs. Wilson, did you personally sign the final sale documents?" "Yes." "Did you understand what you were signing?" "I thought my daughter was helping me sell my house."
There was silence.
Then he said, "Mrs. Wilson, the documents you signed transferred ownership of your house to another company before it was sold." What? "The sale may have been
Done without proper authorization." My heart began beating quickly.
Can I get my house back? We need to investigate." For the first time in months, I felt a small light inside me. Maybe everything was not lost. The lawyer asked me to bring every document Sarah had given me. I searched through my bags. I found the papers. I took them to him. He studied them carefully. Then he looked at me. "Mrs. Wilson, I think someone used your trust against you." I closed my eyes. I already knew who. But I didn't want to believe it. The lawyer began an investigation. He discovered something shocking. The house had not been sold for the amount Sarah had told me. It had been sold for much more, much more. Sarah had told me the house was worth $120,000, but the actual sale price was $280,000. I stared at the number. Where did the rest of the money go? The lawyer looked serious. "That is what we need to find out." A few days later, we discovered that Sarah and Mark had used most of the money to pay their debts and buy a new car. I felt sick. My own daughter had taken the home I had worked for my entire life. But there was another surprise. The lawyer told me that the person who the house had discovered the situation. He had learned that I had been placed in a care home. He wanted to meet me. I was nervous. When the man arrived, he was around 50 years old. His name was Daniel. He sat beside me. "Mrs. Wilson, I bought your house honestly. I didn't know what happened." I nodded. "I understand." He looked at me. "I have 2 children. When I heard your story, I felt terrible." He took a deep breath. "So I want to make you an offer. What offer? I will return the house to you. I stared at him. What? I don't want to keep a house that caused an old woman this much pain. Tears filled my eyes. But you paid money for it. I know. I cannot take that from you. You smiled. You spent your whole life building that home. I think you deserve it more than I do. I started crying. For months, I had believed that everyone had forgotten me, but a stranger had shown me more kindness than my own daughter. The legal process took several weeks. Finally, the house was returned to me. I stood outside my old home again. I touched the front door. My hands were shaking. I whispered, "I'm home." Helen came with me. She smiled. "Welcome home, Margaret." I looked around. Everything was still there. The old kitchen, the small garden, the lemon tree my husband had planted, and the wall where Sarah's height marks were still visible from when she was a child. I cried. But this time, my tears were different. They were tears of gratitude. A few days later, Sarah came to my door. She looked tired. "Mum." I didn't say anything. She started crying. "I'm sorry." I looked at her. "Why did you do it?" She lowered her head. "I was selfish." "You were not just selfish, Sarah." She looked at me. "You broke my heart." "I know. I trusted you. I know." She cried. "I thought you would always forgive me." I was silent for a long time. Then I said, "I am your mother. I can forgive you." Her eyes filled with hope. "But forgiveness does not mean I forget." She nodded. "I understand." I opened the door wider. "Come inside." She stepped into the house. She looked around. She saw the old photographs. She saw the marks on the wall. Then she touched one of them. It was her name written beside a small line. Sarah, age 7. She began crying again. "Mom, you kept everything." I smiled sadly. "I kept everything because I loved you." She hugged me. For a moment, I wanted to forget everything. But I knew something had changed forever. I loved my daughter, but I had learned an important less love does not mean allowing someone to destroy your life. I could forgive Sarah, but I would never again give away my home, my money, or my choices just because someone said they loved me. Today, I still live in my little house. I wake up early, I make tea, I sit in my garden. Sometimes Helen visits me. Sometimes Daniel, the man who returned my house, comes with his children. They call me Grandma Margaret. And sometimes Sarah visits too. Our relationship is different now. It is slower, it is more careful. But there is still hope. I am 71 years old. I have learned that family is not always the person who shares your blood. Sometimes family is the person who sees your pain and chooses to help. Sometimes a stranger can show you more kindness than someone you raised. And sometimes, losing everything teaches you what truly belongs in your life. I lost my house once, but I found my strength. I lost my trust, but I learned to protect myself. And I almost lost my daughter, but I learned that forgiveness can open a door without someone the key to hurt you again. If you are getting older, and someone asks you to sign something, read it carefully. If someone asks you to give up everything you own, think before you say yes, and most importantly, thus never believe that you are a burden just because you are old. S. You spent your life caring for others. You deserve to be cared for too. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes, the people we trust the most teach us the hardest lessons.